Welcome to another episode of That Interview Show. I'm your host, Julian Meyers, and today I'll be talking to my guest, Laura Kate, about music and performing. Enjoy the show. Hello, Laura. Welcome to That Interview Show.
Hi, Julian. Thank you.
All right, so I have, as I do, a script because I'm a journalist. I think that's what they call it, and I'm not professional at all. So today we'll be discussing music and performance, as we've already discussed before the show. Yay! And we have new microphones too, which I just hit mine, so that'll be fun for the audio, just to make things more professional. Yeah. Yeah, let's get into a brief history of you to begin with. So firstly, as I've subtitled it, music and you. What instruments can you play?
Well, I play the violin and I sing, and I can play a little bit of basic flute too. I used to play that in high school and play that every now and again at uni, but I concentrate on violin and singing.
And how long have you been playing the violin?
I've been playing the violin for over 10 years now. I started learning that when I was in primary school at the start of grade 3. I was 8 going on 9, and it was just part of the instrumental program there. You had to pick either the violin or the cello, and I wanted to do the violin. So yeah, I've had a couple of teachers, but yeah, they've been really helpful and really strong and really helped me to expand my technical fluency on the violins. So, yeah.
And how long have you been taking singing lessons?
I started singing lessons after performing and getting out with music. I was about 14 when I started singing lessons, because I'd had a couple of years of doing some gigs and I just knew that I really enjoyed it. So I thought in order to take it further, I really needed to get some lessons and be more knowledgeable about how to protect your voice, and because I want to do this for forever and make sure that I don't strain my voice in any way. So yeah, the singing lessons have been very helpful, and yeah, it's interesting some of the things you learn, but yeah, so I guess I went all about 5 or 6 years now. So.
Very nice. What inspired you to learn the violin and to start singing?
Oh, with violin, I loved the kids show Madeline when I was a young girl, and there was this episode called Madeline and the Old Violin, and yeah, Madeline learns the violin, but her friend Chloe also learns the violin and is very persistent, and just the story of their practice and dedication really inspired me, and I was just like, I want to be like Madeline and play the violin. So when the opportunity came in mid-primary school to play the violin, I was just like, I want to do it like Madeline. So violin over cello. And yeah, since then, I've been inspired by violinists such as Andre Rieu and Zac Ohman. So yeah, they continued to expand my understanding of how to play violin and the feeling that you can put into it. And singing, it really just stemmed from Judy Garland and my love of classic MGM musicals. I became inspired by Judy Garland when I was about 10 and just loved The Wizard of Oz. I was watching it every day, sometimes twice a day, for about a month or something like that. And then my mum was like, this is not very good. You need to add a bit of diversity into your films. Not just one film every day, not just the same film. So she gave me another Judy Garland film to watch called Meet Me in St. Louis. And that's another one of her iconic films. So I was watching that and yeah, just got into Judy Garland and other types of artists like that, like Doris Day and Frank Sinatra, and I just wanted to sing like Judy. So yeah.
So what is your musical style?
It's really very much inspired by Judy Garland and that classic vintage period. Early on, I was very much focused on 1930s, 40s, the MGM musicals, that kind of music. In the last few years, I've also expanded to like Elvis Presley and the Beatles and Connie Francis, Bobby Rydell, just rock and roll artists from the 1950s and 1960s. My parents were rock and roll dancers, actually, so I suppose that's in my blood. I love all that rock and roll music. So yeah, those kinds of styles there, I guess, suppose 1930s through to the 1960s.
Yeah, very nice. It's an interesting range of styles. Definitely, I like how you're still expanding it.
Yeah, I'd say it's kind of pop music from last century.
Yeah, so still keeping with the classics, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Very nice. So what are your inspirations?
Really, like Judy Garland, and the actors and performers too from those movies, they inspire me too, just in the presentation and the way they project their voices. So even just like an actor like Laurence Olivier, or an actress like Grace Kelly, or Audrey Hepburn, the way they carry themselves, their poise, it's very much influential into my style. And I've studied the Alexander technique in the past too, which I look up to, and I think it's very important for health and well-being. It's this theory that allows you to be free, and you learn how to use your body in the best way to get the most potential out of whatever you're doing, whether it's music, or you can apply it to everyday life. And so you can get rid of the unnecessary tension and just use the necessary tension, and it's been very powerful, the Alexander technique. So yeah, that certainly inspires me. And yeah, Fred Astaire had tremendous poise and uplift, and he made everything look so easy, and really that's something I think we should all strive towards, and I know I certainly do. So when it feels like it's becoming too hard, or you're grinding away at work and you're slogging away at it and you're feeling weighed down, I don't like that. It's striving to make it seem as effortless as possible. Yeah.
So let's move into musical performance and how you fit into that. So when did you start performing?
So when I started becoming a big fan of Judy Garland, so I was about 10 years old, and I watched The Wizard of Oz, and then I went on to Meet Me in St. Louis. Then I watched The Sound of Music, which has Julie Andrews, and a film called Easter Parade with Judy Garland and Fred Astaire. So those were like the first musicals that I was really inspired by. So yeah, for about a year I was just really obsessed with those movies and watching them on repeat. And then when I was in grade 6, I said to my mum, hey, I want to actually sing. I want to do something in public. I used to always be far too shy to even consider that. I would not even want to sing in front of my grandparents. I was far too reserved. But just having that passion for the musicals, I kind of got out of my shell. And I was given an opportunity to sing at my primary school's fete. And I sang a couple of songs from The Sound of Music. And I was as nervous as anything, because being naturally a shy person, it was very nerve-wracking to perform publicly when I was just used to performing in front of my parents and teddy bears and things as a child, and then all of a sudden performing in front of a whole school community. It was a bit nerve-wracking, but I enjoyed the feeling of it, and I just wanted to crack that more and more. So, yeah, from there I just continued doing some little school performances, and yeah, it helped.
So what really encouraged you to perform? Like, just did you have family and whatever who were encouraging as well? Like, how did your family respond to it all?
Well, like my parents knew that I could sing well, but they never wanted to push me. They just wanted me to do whatever naturally came to me. And so they would never push me to sing in front of my grandparents or to sing publicly if I didn't want to. And even though they knew I had a good voice, if I didn't want to use that in any way, they weren't forcing me at all. And being a shy person, I was just in the background. I think it was just a natural thing that occurred over time, just wanting to find my own identity and just growing up, finding your own interests, just seeing people like Judy Garland performing these wonderful numbers in musical pictures. I just wanted to do the same thing and be like her, because she was who I looked up to, and I still do look up to her. So yeah, I suppose I just wanted to be like her and give it my all. So
has it been a challenge to perform publicly ever since your first performance?
It's become easier over time. Now, I don't really get nervous now. It's something where I know I can do it. I might have a bit of adrenaline or excitement, but I know that I can do it. It's not like my voice is quivering or like I'm shaking or anything. I feel calm and centered. Whereas, the first performance, my debut public performance, I was petrified and my voice cracked, and it was terrifying. It's really just a build-up of experience over the years, and it gets a bit easier with each performance, and with the more experience you have, you can start trusting that you can do it.
Yeah. Do you have any highlights, like just fun stories, or just really something that when someone says, what was your favourite performance, what's the first thing that really comes to mind?
There are a few things. So really the first significant performance for me was in grade 6. It was the second public performance I did for my primary school's whole school show, and it was performed at Dallas Brooks Hall, which I don't think is there anymore. Actually, I think they've knocked it down. I think there are apartments there, but Dallas Brooks Hall, it's massive, and and it was a pretty epic show that we were putting on, and I was going to be singing the song Que Sera in the show, and it was like my one big moment in the show, and I was nervous as anything, but I got a sore throat on the day of the show, and it was probably from the stress of performing and anticipation of the performance ahead. And I was sitting there backstage and just waiting for my performance, and I could feel my throat burning, but I was so excited yet so nervous. And I finally went on stage, and here all these audience, and huge, and with only the second performance to perform in this massive venue, it was pretty nerve-wracking. But it all went well, and afterwards I was so relieved and over the moon and just ecstatic, and it's something that has been very significant, performing in that venue at a young age, and I really enjoyed that. And so that really made grade 6, my final year of primary school, just the best. And then in my final year of high school, in year 12, I was thrilled to play the role of Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, and so that really just was a great end to high school for me. And by that stage, I felt so much more self-assured in what I could do, and performing at the Darebin Arts Centre, I could take it in my stride more, and I could actually enjoy the experience a lot more than what I did at the time with Dallas Brooks Hall. So, yeah, that holds a special place in my heart, The Wizard of Oz, particularly since that movie started everything for me. So to be able to play one of my favourite characters, it was just a dream come true, and yeah, certainly the most memorable part of high school for me. So, yeah.
Did you ever organise yourself into like any of the bands or whatever at high school, like to perform with others?
Yeah, a little bit. I performed at some chamber concerts and with some of the teachers and students over the years, but I wanted to also perform outside of high school and develop myself away from high school. And yeah, I did like a performance at the Ivanhoe Fiesta, and I started performing for the city of Banyule, the municipality in which I live, and I performed at the Malahang Community Festival a couple of times, the Kids Arty Farty Festival, and I also performed with the Diamond Valley Brass Band at the Banyule Carols by Candlelight one year. So that was all around the year 8, 9, 10 period, so in the middle of high school. And it was just really good for self-esteem, and yeah, it was very fun, and it was great working with the other musicians of the Diamond Valley Brass Band too, and arranging the pieces. It was very insightful.
Do you sometimes prefer to play by yourself, like whether it be singing and violin at the same time or just separately? Like, if, say, when you're performing at a venue, do you prefer to perform by yourself, or do you like it with a bigger band?
It really just depends what opportunities arise. The thing about performing by yourself is that you have control, and I have my own ideas and my own interests and styles and love. So I like to maintain true to that and not let anyone distract me from that. So, but if someone comes along who sees things the way I do and has similar interests, and we're just really clicking and gelling, like, yeah, by all means, it's great. It's great to be able to work with other people and bounce off their ideas. And even if they have some different ideas too, you can learn from that. But I think just maintaining a similar style and similar vision is very important. And yeah, it's fun to work with others. Yeah, I've done a lot of collaboration at uni and in high school over the years. I've worked with a lot of piano accompanists over the years, so many different piano accompanists. Yeah, and in some small ensembles and bands, and yeah, it's a lot of fun, and yeah, you learn how to work with people for sure, and see how things flow and the rocks and bumps. So yeah, it's interesting. It really just depends on the person and what's available, what's out there. But it's good to know that you can always perform by yourself, and then if other opportunities arise, well, that's a bonus.
What are other common venues that you work at, like now in your busking phase and whatever?
Yeah, well, I do fairly consistent busking at some markets. So I perform at the Kingsbury Drive Community Market, the Preston Market just up the road.
Don't tell them where it is.
Berkeley Square in Brunswick, and yeah, sometimes I also have a gig at the Eltham Market, and yeah, I do a lot of private gigs as well, so weddings and some parties and ceremonies and things like that. So,
all right, well,
yeah.
let's move into the last segment of the interview. Your overall experience. So, in your opinion, what is the importance of practice and dedication to an art form?
I think it all comes down to balance. Balance is my favourite term. It's the key term in life. Life is balance. A lot of people either extreme, they're one end of the seesaw doesn't balance. There are many people who just think they can sing or just think they can play an instrument and they're getting out there and busking, and like that's great, but if they're really thinking that they're going to become superstars, they really do need to take lessons and put in work and research and play their scales and practice. But then there are also some people the opposite end of that spectrum where they practice like 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and it's very, very intense. A lot of classical musicians practice that much, and it's overwhelming. And I think you need to do other things in life, and you can create too much tension when it's just focused so entirely on that one thing. And so I think it's you've got to mix things up, and it's not necessarily about practicing all the time. It could be about watching a musical performance, going to the theatre show, being inspired by other things out there too. So I think you've got to have consistent practice. It doesn't necessarily need to be long, but it needs to be consistent. So even if you do like, an hour or 2 hours or something each day, or even just half an hour each day, depending on where you're wanting to head with music, but it's that consistency there.
Or maybe like me, an hour a year. Or not anymore because I stopped playing my instruments, but still have them. Opportunity's still there. I'm one of those people who I guess I still have a lot of opportunity to play. Like even my dad tells me sometimes I could go out and busk like you. Like, I tell him every now and then like that, oh look, there's pictures of Laura, she's gone busking again at the market or whatever. He's like, you could go do that. I'm like, or I could stay home and watch films, what I kind of prefer to do.
The good thing about busking is that you can consider it a practice anyway.
Yeah.
And you're practicing in front of an audience, but an audience that won't judge you too much. So that's comforting.
How does, let's say, hard work and listening enforce one's skill?
Yeah, I think listening is very important. I found this to be very useful when I did the subject of music investigation, Year 12 subject. I did that in Year 11. And I was listening to Judy Garland and Fred Astaire and Ella Fitzgerald and Frank Sinatra, a selection of my favourite singers, very intently, and really listening to their techniques and styles and the little inflections that they put into their vocal performances, and also watching how they'd perform and how they'd present on stage, but really closely, and just to see if they'd put like a little trill in a certain phrase, or whether they'd elongate a note, or whether they'd cut off a note, and just see how they'd mix around with techniques. And so I wouldn't necessarily copy what they were doing, but I'd take these techniques and ideas that they had and mix them all up, and then it becomes your own piece then, because you just draw from all these inspirations and then you create something new. So it's it's really fresh too, because you just don't know what you're going to do. You're kind of improvising in a way, and you can learn that there are so many things out there and so many different ways you can perform. So I think it's important to listen to what people are doing and take the best of everything that you listen to and everything that you watch.
Yeah. How have you developed experience over the years?
Just by kind of stepping stones, really. Just ever since the performance at the school fete. I did a few other performances at school, and then into high school I did some performances there, and was part of the chorus in the school productions, and did some performances for the council, and then later in high school I decided I wanted to create my own business with Laura Kate, and perform independently, and try and gain a bit of experience that way, and you're just building blocks step by step, and they just all accumulate, and you get more experience as you go along. Yeah,
especially to the point that you've completely put yourself out there very publicly as well with your career, which is inspiring for some. I could say myself, I don't know. That's up to you to decide. Do you have any advice for musicians or aspiring artists out there?
I think know your style and know who you are. Don't be too widespread. Have a direction and just attract people who are along the same lines as you, who you can work with and who will help you, and watch artists who inspire you in that style, and just really work at it and practice consistently and just enjoy what you're doing too, and make sure it's not too hard, that it's something that really gives you a lot of energy and joy. So, and just try and get some experience too, and just the more you get out there, the easier it becomes if you're a bit nervous. And
so where can the audience find you, like social media links and whatever, aside from being linked in the description, of course?
So I am on Facebook. So Laura Kate Music, you can find on Facebook. I've got a YouTube channel with a few videos there. So if you type in Laura Kate on YouTube, and I have got a website too. So type in like Laura Kate Music or Laura Kate Singer and Violinist onto Google, and you should find a website there which has information on my style, the types of gigs I can do, and repertoire, and a bio, some videos, and some contact information. So
and of course there is the performance that Laura did on this channel a few months ago, so that's also in a separate link, either on the screen eventually, probably at the end, because I can do that now, which is really cool, but also still link in the description, just to give you an example of her work outside of whatever images and videos have been put into this nicely done interview. Complimenting myself, yay! All right. Well, that's all the questions I have for you, Laura. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, you know where to find her now, with all her links in the description or on screen or however it goes now. That's simply it. So this has been my guest, Laura Pollock, aka Laura Kate, aka a good musician. Yay! All right, and thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for watching another episode of That Interview Show. Today my guest was Laura Kate. You can find her links in the description down below. Feel free to like, share and subscribe for more on Telecreations, or find really any other interview on Telecreations. A playlist will also be down in the description. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.